Red alert, you saw the title. Mega Rayquaza has descended upon us. Shoutouts to Pokebeats, Jake C, and Tuan Lei for the card translations, as well as Pokemon Proxies for already making English images for these cards. I can't read Japanese. But without wasting any more time, allow me to introduce Mega Rayquaza EX. This is a basic colorless EX, and I'm really happy this is colorless because I think that's cool, with 280 HP, a retreat cost of 2, and the following. The ability Champion's Roar says when you play this Pokemon from your hand onto your bench during your turn, you may use this ability. Look at the top 4 cards of your deck and attach a basic energy you find there to this Pokemon. Shuffle the remaining cards and put them on the bottom of your deck. This ability is fine. If you've played Metal Maker Metang, you know how unreliable this effect really is. However, while Metal Maker can potentially go crazy and grab several energy at once, this ability will only ever get you one. I guess you can combo it with Dusk Ball, maybe? This ability really isn't consistent or powerful enough to move the needle on how viable Mega Rayquaza will be, so let's keep reading. For a Fire, Lightning, and a colorless, Storm Emeralda does 50 damage times the number of fire and lightning energy attached to all of your Pokemon in play. Now this is more like it. Assuming you're paying the attack cost normally, you should be hitting for 150 damage, though we'll probably need 6 or 7 energy to take the one-hit KOs that we want. I'll admit, I don't fully like the attack cost. Like, you have to flood your board with energy to hit meaningful damage anyway, so it'd be nice if Rayquaza itself could attack for cheap. Anyway, in my mind, there are 2 good ways to charge this up. The first of which is Iono's Bellibolt EX. This card already has a payoff in Voltorb, which does 20 damage for each lightning energy on your Iono's Pokemon. I think Rayquaza might be a decent step up. Iono's Bellibolt lets you freely attach lightning energy from your hand to your Iono's Pokemon, and after filling your board with lightning energy, just use a card like End's Plan to move it onto Rayquaza. Finally, attach return a fire or a prism energy, and you're golden. I like this combo a lot. Additionally, Mega Rayquaza is weak to lightning, which not only means the day this card releases will be one of the funniest days to play Iron Thorn's EX on the ranked ladder, but also means that Iono's Bellibolt version of this deck will be one of the funniest mirror matches in the game. Good luck. However, there is another way to do pretty much the same thing as Bellibolt. Emboar from White Flare, as well as every single prize pack I open. I have way too many of these guys. Please subscribe so I can afford an industrial grade incinerator to take care of my excess cards. Emboar's Inferno Fandango lets us freely attach fire energy wherever we want on our board. So in exchange for being a very fragile stage 2, Emboar allows us to do the same combo as Bellibolt, but without the need for a card like End's Plan. Again, spam fire energy, attach a lightning or a prism, and you're up and running. Better yet, since your supporter slot is open, how about a card like Fire Breather to get all the fire energy you could ever need? Or how about Wally's Compassion? Return all that energy to the hand, maybe use some of it as discard fodder, and then put it all right back onto Rayquaza as if nothing had even happened. This is really exciting. Will it be good? Well, I think consistency is probably an issue. The Iono version also has Kilowattrel as a draw engine, which could be helpful. The Emboar version can play another stage 2 in the Delphox. That's very inconsistent, so I don't really know. This thing is colorless though, so maybe there's a line for something like Glass Trumpet to help it charge up. We'll just have to see. However, there are still more cool cards in the set. This Fletchling is bad, this Fletchinder is just worse Yveltal, but Talonflame EX? This might not be so bad. Talonflame is another colorless type EX with a retreat cost of 0, 280 HP, and the following. The ability Excite Dive. If this Pokemon is in your hand and you have a colorless Mega Evolution Pokemon in play, you may use this ability. Put this Pokemon onto your bench. So if you meet the requirements, this is effectively a 280 HP basic EX. This might not be so bad. I mean, 280 HP is huge for a basic EX. Is it even possible for a 280 HP basic EX to be a bad card? I'll shut up. This ability seems to be designed around Mega Rayquaza, but colorless Mega Evolution? Can you think of any colorless Mega Evolution Pokemon that are literally everywhere? This might not be so bad with Mega Kangaskhan. It's a free retreat, so you can combo it with Lopunny, although the Dunsparce is probably just better. Well, why would we want to play this card anyway? For 2 colorless, Claw Hunt does 150 damage, and you may search your deck for up to 2 cards and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Mixed feelings here. This is a very good attack to use in the early game, but by the time you've used this, you already have a colorless Mega and 2 energy on your board. What else are you really searching out at this point? Hilda, for example, can search Ignition Energy plus this Talonflame, and you can do something funny with that, but I'm not totally sold. The real reason I'm excited for this card is because it's another stage 2 we can cheat out easily. That's right, it's Mamoswine time. Also, I'm mildly upset that this is a Talonflame and not an Unfezant, because do you know how funny it would be if the P-Dove that mentioned Unfezant EX on its text for 2 years finally got that Unfezant EX, and it could just be cheated into play without P-Dove in the first place? That would be really funny, but whatever. Anyway, someone out there can either use Kaleido Waltz to charge up Mamoswine, or Kangaskhan as a draw engine, or maybe even both, and I would be very happy. Will this make Mamoswine viable? Probably not. It's still a deck about spamming stage 2s. It really needs all the help we can get, but still, I want to at least try giving this a shot. We also have the item card Adventuring Lantern. Search your deck for a basic fire energy and a basic lightning energy, reveal them and put them into your hand. Then shuffle your deck. It was delusional for me to hope for a Professor's Letter reprint, but this does just reconfirm it. This still isn't too bad. First of all, it is an item that gives a straight +1 in card advantage, perhaps discard fodder or something. But if we're playing Rayquaza with Belly Bolt or Emboar like I said, then we'll probably run a massive amount of one energy type and the bare minimum of the other. This card not only gets you the type that you need to attack, but it also gets you another card that you will probably have a way to accelerate, which honestly seems pretty good. Like, this is definitely a good card, but it is tailor-made for Rayquaza, so whether or not it's good will very heavily depend on how good Rayquaza will end up being. Speaking of tailor-made for Rayquaza though, here's the Mega Rayquaza Cap. The Pokemon this card is attached to can use the attack on this card. For one colorless, Delta Gift says for each of your Pokemon in play that has a Mega Rayquaza Cap attached, search your deck for a basic energy and attach it to that Pokemon. Then shuffle your deck. Finally, the real use of Treasure Tracker. Search out 4 of this card for the most stupid energy acceleration you can imagine. This card probably isn't very good, but at least it's cute. Not much else to say there though. Here's Zinnia's Trust. Switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. If you do, move 1 energy from your previous active Pokemon to your new active Pokemon. We're getting a lot of supporters with switching effects. I assume to prevent Retreat Lock from ever becoming super overbearing, but when even Surfer is only seeing niche play, I don't really know about this card. Seriously, I bought full art Surfers and everything and I don't even have a use for them. That said, this supporter being a switch and an energy switch in one basically means it's Scramble Switch at home. Perhaps having 4 copies of the biggest downgrade ever, no offense Zinnia, is enough to make a deck built around this kind of effect more playable? I don't know. But I really want to see Scramble Switch Turbo be good at some point, and perhaps this is another important piece of that puzzle. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, one of the bigger reveals though is the new Dual Stadium. Legendary Summit comes in 2 halves and must be played with both halves at the same time. Just like the Legend Pokemon from, what's to say, 16 years ago. Wow. Anyway, both halves of this beautiful card are only uncommon, which I think is quite nice. Let's see what it does. You can only put this card into play from your hand with the other half of Legendary Summit, and it counts as 1 Stadium card while in play. When knocked out by damage from an opponent's attack, both players' colorless Pokemon give up 1 less prize card. This is a very good effect. It makes sense they'd restrict it, but like, imagine going through the trouble of getting 2 cards to play together as your Stadium, then before it even has any kind of impact on the game, it just gets bumped by Battle Cage. Like, if it sticks, it's good, but you can't really guarantee it sticks. So I don't think it's worth playing unless pre-release comes around, and this is literally the only Stadium in the whole set. Also, can this be played in GLC? I don't think so, right? Because both halves have the same name. So even in Standard, you can only play 2 of each half, or 3 and 1 if you really wanted to, I guess. But yeah, if you know how the rules for actually playing this card would work, please comment. Thank you. Anyway, MC's Hype also got a reprint. Same effect, but a different character. If you don't know what this card does, it's because it's unfortunately really bad. That said though, I actually really like when the TCG does original designs for supporter cards. So shoutouts to MC's Hype, shoutouts to Seer, and shoutouts to Forest Guardian. Anyway, we also saw these starter decks get revealed. All the cards in them so far are really, really bad, but if you see an egregiously terrible EX in one of our future sets, at least you know where it came from. Anyway, the cards we discussed today released in Japan on July 31st. If you're watching this, it will probably release for you on November 6th. That's 3 full months of Japan having these cards before us. And with Celebrations releasing worldwide in September, that's 2 months of us playing a format that Japan will never experience. Though I get the feeling most of the Celebration cards won't impact the game anyway. This huge delay sucks for like a ton of reasons, although I don't think it's fit to get into that right now. Just know that I am very upset about it. Thank you, be sure to subscribe, and comment how much you think the Pokemon Company will charge when they turn the Mega Rayquaza cap into a real thing. Bye bye.